Longer Ray 5 laser, you've seen me use it in quite a few different videos. I've done quite a few different demonstrations. Today, since Halloween is not that far away, I'm going to show you how to make this sign, laser cut, 6-layer. Coming up. I'm Roger, welcome to the shop, and today we're going to be making a sign. And where did I get the graphics from? Well, so designbundles.net. No, I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. They have a wide assortment of things you can get, from whether you're doing vinyl cutting with a Cricut or a Cameo, or you're doing laser cutting, or you're doing sublimation or HTV. They got all kinds of designs there. And I happened to see this particular design here, and I thought that'd be kind of fun to make. So I'm going to take the Longer Ray 5 laser here, and we're going to make this out of layers of 1/4-inch plywood. And you don't have to use 1/4-inch plywood. You could use a thinner plywood, of course, and it will cut quicker. But I wanted to have the extra depth that this offers by using that 1/4-inch plywood. So we'll get on with it here, and I'll show you how to lay this out, and we'll go through and cut all the layers and put you on the computer here, show you how to separate the parts, because everything comes in one big SVG, so you're going to have to sort it out. And I'll be using Lightburn. Okay, I'll show you how to get this lined up in Lightburn. Start with a new project here. I was just sizing up some things. Don't need to save that. So I've got this shrunk down, and there's a reason for that. It's set for the Longer Ray 5. So we'll go up in here to import. I'm going to import this sign, and it's going to come like this. So you've got these 6 graphics, and we're going to need to do these graphics one at a time, so they're going to have to be separated. So what I do here is I delete. Well, first we need to ungroup this. This is grouped. Here to ungroup. Come back down here. We'll select those 4 and delete them. I'm going to take this one down here and delete it. We'll highlight this. This is a single layer here, so I don't need to regroup. Put that in there. And we're going to save this. We're going to call this layer 1. So we're going to have 6 layers here. Save that. And we are going to go through this, a new one, import. We'll be importing the same thing again here. Again, ungroup. Take those out of there. This time I'll take this one out of there. Now before I move this, I need to regroup it. Back up here and group it, otherwise the pieces will move when I don't want them to. Now I can take that, bring that up in here. About centered like so. We'll save this one as layer 2. Repeat the process here. Ungroup. This time I'll delete these 2 over here. And I'll get rid of these 2. Now I'll get rid of these 2 over here. And I'll get rid of this one down here. I need to regroup this because that's more than one piece, more than one layer I should say. I'll move this one down to center. Layer 3. Same process. Ungroup. Remove those. Move those. Regroup. Layer 4. Always remember to regroup these before you go to move them, or you're liable to screw your graphic up. For the settings on these, I'm going to be cutting. So I'll go over here to my cuts and layers. See, I'm doing, and I'm going to be doing 250 millimeters per minute at 100% power, and 2 passes. It does pretty much cut it in 1 pass, but you'll get some grain once in a while that'll grab and not quite cut, so I go with 2 passes. And that'll hold true for all 6 layers. I'll be using that same setting. So what are you going to need to make this sign? Well, you're going to need some 1/4 inch plywood. I'm going to be using SAE and metric measurements both here, just to confuse people a little bit. The metric measurements will mostly be dealt with travel speed on the laser. But you can buy this at home store. This is called Ply. It's actually floor underlayment for like bathroom and kitchen floors, and it has little X's on one side and where to nail. But I'm not going to be using that side, so we'll be using this side here. This happens to have a birch veneer on it, which is very nice for taking paint. So buy a sheet of this for roughly, I think I paid $23 for a full sheet. Take you out, I'll show you how I cut it. Okay, the actual sign diameter is 8.83 or so, and I'm using 10-inch squares, so I have some wiggle room a little bit. I could have made it 9 by 9, but then it's too easy to make a mistake, so I wanted to have a little bit of wiggle room. This isn't that expensive, and you're not using that much of it. So my pieces are 10 inches square, and you're going to need 6 of them. As you saw, I cut with my track saw outside, and then I cut these to length with my miter saw. It's not, well, the miter saw part's exact. The track saw is sort of exact. If I wanted to be real exact, I'd use table saw, but didn't want to have to clean it off to do it because I'd have to move my laser. So we'll get these set up, and you'll be cutting 6 different pieces, and the speed we're using is 250 millimeters per minute, 100% power, and 2 passes. It does sort of cut it in 1 pass, but sometimes you'll have a little weird grain. It won't quite cut through, then you got to fool with it. So I prefer to do it in 2 passes. So I'll get this set up here for the first one. I'm going to be working what they call current position, and I work from center. So you'll need to know where the center of your work is. I always find it easiest to work from center. And sometimes I use absolute coordinates, but in this particular case we're going to use current position. I'll position the laser on the center. To find the center, put a diagonal straight edge across each way, just make a little X in the middle. You're going to be painting this anyway, and if you don't write real heavy, you can just sand it off real simple. So I'll just need to get this set up. I already have my laser focus for this size wood. I do have a honeycomb board on here, and I do have air assist. I'll get that on there, and I'll fire the laser to make sure that's where it belongs. At 1% power. And I'm off just a skosh. Now I'll frame this So everything looks good. And if you see me doing this kind of stuff, it's because we got a real problem with yellow jackets flying around today, and they're in the shop, driving me crazy. So we'll get this started. And this just basically cuts a circle. So the cut time on layer 1 here is 5 minutes and 39 seconds. Okay, there's our first piece. Just back out of the way. And I did not quite cut through. I'm going to have to slow my speed down or something here. So I'll need to reset this. That's the advantage of starting from center and having that centering point. I did a test cut earlier on a scrap, but it wasn't from this sheet. So you always need to do some test cuts. Make sure that everything is as it should be. And right back in center again. And so I'm going to run one more pass on this. Okay, I should have cut through all the way that time. Still got a couple little spots here. While this was cutting again, I did compare this to my test piece I did this morning, and I found that the center core of this particular piece of plywood is a little different from what the other one was, but hit that with a sander once and that'll come right apart. I'm going to have to change my speed and layer count here for the next one. So let me get set up for layer 2. Layer 2, and this is a bit more complex. I changed my number of passes to 3, and I slowed my speed down to 225 millimeters per minute. And this one will take 49 minutes and 42 seconds because it is much more complex. And I've already framed this, so I'll get it started. Of course, I won't keep the camera running for this whole 49 minutes, but we'll check back on this periodically. Okay, so you got all your pieces cut. Yeah, some of them are here and the rest are stacked up behind me on top of the back drum. So now you're going to have to think about some painting before you put this all together. I'll bring you in close here on these two pieces and show you what I'm going to do. These two cutouts here layer one on top of each other. You can see here I've traced where the windows are, because you want these will align like this. And of course the background will be behind that and the moon and everything. But I want my windows to be yellow, to kind of show as light shining through. This whole one right here will be painted flat black. But I don't want the yellow to spill over on these black edges. I want those edges to stay black. So what I'll be doing in these little areas right here where I want the yellow is I'll be putting some masking tape around to prevent any overspray from getting on anything else. First, now this is a front ring, and that I'm going to be painting orange. This is the second layer. This goes on the back. The back should be painted a dark blue or a dark gray. You don't want to paint it black because you want the black of the building to contrast against that. This here is to represent the moon. So I'm going to paint that white, but I'm going to mask up here and down here so that I don't change my black edge in here. I don't want that to be white. I want just the moon to be white. So you notice I've got some tape on the inside and on the outside around the moon here because I want to keep that black. The only part I want white is the moon right here and the edge around the moon. The rest of this I want to remain the black color. And if you should get some colored paint on the outside edge after you get done, you can also always go around with some black paint. And this layer here I'll also be painting white. And the outer ring here will be orange. Get all these taken outside and get some paint on them and let it dry, and then we'll put this thing together. Okay, now to assemble. You'll have some of these left over from when you cut out these shapes. Take a scrap board of some kind and trace pencil. Take 4 finishing nails. These are just number 4 regular finishing nails. and put them just outside the line in 4 places. That'll give you a good reference on getting this stuff aligned. So the bottom layer, of course, is the gray. I'm using dark gray here. The next layer is the moon. And we have to figure out where we want the moon exactly, so I'm just going to set it in here. Then we're going to take the piece that has that I've painted some yellow on. This is layer number 3. Figure out where that falls so that the bats are on the moon. And once we get that lined up and like it, we can I'm going to make a little reference mark here by my nail so I know where to set that. I'm using this Tight Bond Quick and Thick. Don't go crazy with this. You don't want a bunch of squeeze out. So on the back side of this, I will put some glue around the perimeter and a little bit around where the moon is. And yes, it does bond to the paint. So I just got a little glob there, and then I can take my finger and spread this around the outside without getting a bunch of squeeze out to the inside, because you absolutely don't want that. That'll be really hard to clean up. I'm going to be using some pin nails here too, so if you happen to have a pin nailer, that'd be a plus. I need just a little bit more there. So I'll take this, align my reference mark up with that nail. Make sure we're lined up good all the way around. Well, I still ended up with a teeny bit of squeeze out, but I don't think that's going to show by the time we get the other layers on. Now, this will be your next layer. Set that on here. That where I like it. Make a little reference mark. There's my third layer. Fourth layer will be the one that I've painted all black. And I'll just be lining this up with the critters here in the house and everything. This glue does dry clear if you get a little bit of squeeze out to the inside. I'm just going to get all these lined up perfect. Hey, I missed a window there. I'm going to have to go back and fix that. Okay, you see I got a little bit of overspray up here. I can actually darken that up with a Sharpie pretty easy. So that won't be any big problem. I'll get my cat lined up there just a little better. Okay, the next layer. This is our welcome. It'll sit there like so. If you don't have a pin nailer, you can just put a weight on this when you're all done. Hold everything together. Lastly is our front ring here. We have it, just need to do a little bit of touch up in there. Okay, so here's the finished sign, and yes, I've got quite a bit of time into it, fooling around doing stuff, and of course then forgetting to have that little yellow part painted, having to go back and do it. So that took a little bit more time, but this is a nice little project, and as you can see, it turned out pretty good. In hindsight, when I do the next one, I will be painting that layer that I had the yellow on. I will also be painting the rest of that one black. is I had a little bit of stuff show up around my cat and around one of the bats here. So I want to, I fixed it with a Sharpie, but I'll be painting it black next time. And I need to do a little bit of touch-up work around the outside here after the glue dries. I'll probably sand this a little bit, get a little bit more perfect. Then I'll probably paint it with black acrylic. And all I need to do is put a hanger in the back and hang it up. Now, of course, this is not for outdoor use. This isn't weatherproof. The plywood I'm using is, if you get it wet, it'll fall apart. So this is, you know, if you're in on a covered porch or something, that'd be fine. But this is not a outdoor hanging out in your yard decoration. Just so you know that. It could be done that way. You will have to use some waterproof materials, though, if you're going to go that route. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up. Always helps the channel. If you'd like to get one of these longer 5-ray lasers, if you'd like to get one of these longer Ray 5 lasers, there'll be a link in the description. It's a good machine. It's reliable. I don't have any trouble with it, and I use it a lot. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.